Jazzy.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the Happy Japs Prep is Death network. So excited that you're here. My name is Graham Gens. I use he and they pronouns, and I wrote Under the Autumn Strangely. I want to introduce everyone here that's going to be on the stream playing with me. So I think I'm going to pass it to Vixie.
Hey, everybody. My name is Vixie Bell. I love going first. I say that jokingly. No, my name is Vixie Bell. I'm a friendly neighborhood player here at the Happy Jacks table. I'm excited to be here. I have played Under the Autumn Strangely once before, and I have loved it, and I'm so excited to play it again. Yeah, that's me. Finger guns.
Finger
I'm gonna
guns
toss
to
the ball.
someone.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
toss the ball. I got you. I realized I'm still holding the football. I got
There,
you.
there you go.
Tossing it over to Pooja because she's the
Woo!
first person I saw.
Hello, hello. I am Pooja, and you can find me here on Happy Jacks with some fair regularity, and on the internet as Forgotten Saves. I'm going to throw that football away to Rick.
Hi. Well, thank you for that. My name is Rick. This is my first time here on the Happy Jacks network. I am happy and honored to be here. I was asked to tell a story and play a game by my friend Graham Gens. And you might know me from being Mythworks' chief people person, but that's not important right now. What's important right now is we're going to play a great game made by Graham. But before that, we'll toss it on over to Emily so we can learn about her.
I love going last. My name is Emily St. James. I used to be. This is my first time on Happy Jacks in like a year, and I have not played a game here in like 2 years. I had a baby. I use she her pronouns, and I'm wearing a sort of a pinkish dress, and I'm in front of a giant postcard of dancing pumpkin people, and also there's a witch and a cat in it that sometimes you'll see when I like blink out of existence. So that's who I am.
Amazing. Okay, so before we get in, Under the Autumn Strangely is a pastoral horror game of anachronistic Americana and a land that never was. So much of it is based on what the players are bringing to the table, because it is a no prep game. That is why, if not especially, safety tools are so important. We had a conversation before the game, but in terms of modeling table good table culture, I think it's always very important to have this stuff out when the stream is going too. So we have the X card, in which if anything comes up in game, even though I am not a facilitator, I am very invested in this being a communicative game and a healthy game. So people can do an X with their hands or an X in chat. And the idea is that it's removed from the game without discussion. You can't say, "Hey, what are you doing, man? Like, what's that for?" For me, the most important part about the X card is the conversation around it, is that people know this is there. But it's just a tool. Tools are imperfect, and tools work in conjunction well with other tools, which is why lines and veils is another really useful tool. In lines, it's things that will never ever come up or mentioned in game or out of game. And a veil, either if it does come up, you fade away quickly so you don't fixate on it, or it's off in the world. So we have a series of lines that we've talked about before. Let's see if I can remember all the really awful things that we talked about. So here on Happy Jacks, there's an automatic line to, let's see, harm against children, harm domesticated animals and pets. We have a line for cockroaches. What else am I forgetting, dear friends?
Torture.
Torture, a line for torture. Very good.
Really severe gore slash body horror
Great,
is also off the table.
great. So something like a veil for intense gore, which makes sense since there's these spikes of moments and then you don't fixate. Lines tend to be, they're very, very clear. And again, the veil is about like finding that comfort at the table. Are there any others that I'm forgetting here? Sounds good? Great. Okay, wonderful. Um, I find that safety tools are so vital to how you maintain games at the table. But there is a little bit of an elephant in the room as you list all of these awful things, and then you're supposed to kind of collaborate, which is why, as a joke, I started doing something as a safety tool, but it's now in the text of the game, which is the opposite of the X card. It's the O card. The O card represents enthusiastic consent. It's also a great way to encourage without interrupting. When we're at a physical table, not here floating aimlessly in the digital space, I'll take a little card and put an O on it. So it's like a little button that you can press to say, yes, I want more of this thing. So if you're pontificating, if you're role playing, particularly if something's getting a little weird or a little horrific, and you look around and you say, oh man, people, pop up your O's. I like this because it also looks a little bit like a hand heart and you can look through it. Oh man, like here it is. People are with me and you can really hit the gas. So I find it to be a very, very useful tool. We're here on stream, but I love an open door. I love an open door. You're a human being. You have needs. I don't need to know what those needs are. If you rush out, I may make sure you're all right. But, you really don't owe me anything personally. And more than anything, I want people to be all right and their lives to be taken the priority of that. Is there anything else people would like to talk about before I start talking about rules? I'm seeing some no's. I'm seeing some smiles. I'm seeing some thumbs ups. Great. All right. Hi, everybody. So, hey, Rick, you want to hold up that book?
Oh, I would
This is
love
Under the
to.
Autumn Strangely. It's that one right there. It is a collaborative storytelling game in which we will take one of three roles. It's dead in the middle of the book, right where the staple is. Bam!
Oh, I knew.
I'm going to talk about them. There's 5 of us here, which means 2 of us are going to double up on a role, but all 3 are going to be covered. And so a single person will be a single role, and all of them have a relationship, these little arrows, which I'm going to talk about. So I'm going to describe each, and then basically just think about gut response. What to you sounds good? You can either play as the Traveler, the Arcadian, or the Terror. The Traveler is very much your point of view character for our tale. What defines them is that they are foreign to the Neverwas, this place in which they are lost. They are not from here. It's the closest thing to a traditional PC in another role-playing game, but really is defined by just the point of view. So if you want to be tumbling headfirst into an unknown world, then the Traveler is for you. Next, you have the Arcadian. The Arcadian is the Neverwas itself, as well as all those that dwell there. The closest thing to a traditional GM role, although everyone has kind of equal narrative ability to kind of scope our world and even find the different characters being played. More on that later. But you're just more freed because you do not have a specific point of view that you need to stick with. So you're just a little more freed up. Your total responsibility is that autumnal melancholy. You're going to be painting broadly with that brush, with that tone, getting us in that place. So if you like to play NPCs like jazz solos, the Arcadian is for you. And the many denizens of the Neverwas, they may be a little odd, maybe ineffable, but not necessarily dangerous. But there is something that's wrong. There's something creeping at the back of every interaction, altering it in some way, effectively adding an ellipsis that says, and something about that isn't quite right. And that is the Terror. The Terror is intended to brood and grow over time. You might be a literal entity, or you might be something more abstract. So if you like to whisper into your friends' ears and plot and plan, then the Terror is for you. So we have the Traveler, the Arcadian, and the Terror. My friends, what sounds good to you? I have no procedure for this. It's just about gut response. Like, if somebody speaks first and is like, this is really speaking to me, by all means, I would love it if you would play that role.
Well, the only time I played this, I played the Arcadian, and I had a great time. And I do enjoy making up random people to just throw at you. But if somebody else is really into that, the other 2 are also great, and I do enjoy new experiences. But I'm happy to do it, and because I know that's not to everybody's liking.
Is that what you want to do, Emily? That was
I
such
think
a
that's
lovely
where
thematic.
that's where I
I'm
would
asking for your
lean.
heart, right? What does your heart
Yeah,
say? That's
that's
really
where
the
I
only
would.
thing.
I think that's what I would like to do. But again, if other people really had their hearts set on it, I'm happy to go elsewhere. But yes,
Emily,
I would
my
joyful
love-
thing-
heart is set on you setting your
Great.
heart. So I
Yeah,
would
the-
love
the
it if you would
joy-
be our first Arcadian.
The
Done.
joyful thing is that because there are 5 of us and 3
sure.
roles, there's gonna be doubling. So if someone really wants to, they can join you.
Yeah, I just didn't want to have like all of us.
You're great.
Like,
You're great. Thank you for speaking what you want.
I do love being a terror. So
Haha! I would love it if you were a terror then. Please, we have our first terror. So excited. All right, Vixie, all right, Rick, what's speaking to y'all?
I had a lot of fun playing the terror, but I
Mhm.
also I don't like I'm torn between do I want to play the terror again or do I want to swap to something that I haven't done yet because I haven't
Right.
played the Arcadian yet either. And I don't mind being a traveler, so all of them kind of appeal to me in their own way.
Totally. Yeah, I was on a stream when this was getting released, and we were like just talking and waiting for some technical thing to happen. And I was asked which role is my favorite, and I couldn't not like dance around it, not because I was trying to avoid the answer, but because it's like it's truly impossible. Like I made them in such a way is that each one to me is appealing, right? Like I enjoy playing role-playing games for all kinds of reasons, and this is
Yeah.
why. Because I like sharing. Speaking of sharing, Rick, how would you like to share today?
I am similarly drawn by all 3. The idea of being a terrorist sounds delightful and wonderful because I've not yet been that, and it sounds wonderful to find ways to twist drama and tension. But also, I love the optimism and joy that gets interrupted of being a traveler. And you know what? I feel from the way that my heart jumped when I described the optimism and joy interrupted, I feel as though I'll be our first declared traveler.
Amazing.
Maybe only, and that's
We
fine.
have our set. We have our first traveler, our first Arcadian, and our first terror. I love that because Rick, absolutely, you're supposed to listen to your heart. That's the
That's-
only procedure, right?
Yeah.
Like, I find that's a very potent mechanism. Is like,
Yes.
what does your heart want? Okay, Vixie, what's speaking to you today? Maybe it's just today, right? You woke up in a
It's-
certain way, a certain kind of thing
Yeah.
that you want.
I think that I would like to also play a traveler today.
Hooray!
Let's wander.
Amazing. All right. Well, I think I want to be an Arcadian because I feel like really adding to this environment is something that's like really going to be very nice. So, hopefully, I didn't say this explicitly beforehand. If you have scrap paper and pencil nearby within arm's reach, I mean,
have
we're
a
all on computinators. I suppose you can type something up as well. We
Just
also
click.
need a few miscellaneous bits and baubles, tokens of any kind. More on that later, but for now, we're just going to be writing a few things down. All right, look at that. Look at how good everyone is and how long their arms are. Very exciting about that. All right, so setup works like this. The Traveler, Arcadian, and Terror have 3 sets of details, 2 and 1, respectively. So I'm going to start with my lovely Travelers because they have the most to do. So, Travelers, you have 3 sets of details that I need from you each. The first is the most basic information about your traveler, so name, age, pronouns. The second set of details that I need about your travelers are how you appear to yourself and how do you appear to others. I'm intentionally a little vague about this. It might be physical description, it might be internal life, external life. It's really up to you to define how you want to answer that. So that the second set is how do you appear to yourself and how do you appear to others. And finally, the last thing that I need from you travelers is what were you doing just before you became lost in the Neverwas? You want me to clarify or repeat any of those things, Rick Mythworks or Vixie?
We're good. Thank you.
No, I'm good. If I have any questions, I've got the text.
Yeah, you do. That's so good.
I'll just
So
refer.
useful. available anywhere role-playing games are sold.
Yeah.
All right, Emily, so
Hopefully
excited.
soon, our
We are
website, too.
Arcadians. So excited. Emily and I are the Arcadians. That means that we have two sets of details each that we are going to be brainstorming, and really that is the case. When we finish setup, before we begin, both travelers are going to share with the table everything they've written down. Because again, they're the point of view characters. So regardless of what role you are, we as players understand where emotionally we're beginning. The Arcadians, we are going to be brainstorming more like images, and the idea is just to get us emotionally and visually in the right headspace for where we're going to be. And the detail of the terror is explicitly secret. The terror is not supposed to tell us. So what the Arcadian needs are two images. The first image is a image of autumnal melancholy. So like a dusty back road or paint peeling off of a barn, something like that. And the second image that we need to brainstorm is a surreal agrarian image, something like very large vegetables or human hearts growing from a tree, something like that. Cool, Emily?
Yes. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I see. That's a nice smile. That's a
Yeah,
all right. Yeah,
I was
a
like,
writing
yeah,
prompt. Ooh.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
We've all seen human hearts growing from a tree. It's
there
yeah,
you. Oh, good. All right. So just one of those standard images.
yeah.
All right. Great. I'm here to communicate. Hello, Terror. So excited to have you with us, Terror. Wonderful. So Terror, what I need from you is a single detail, and that detail is a broad general theme that your descriptions are going to take place in. So something like blood or bone or reflection or beauty. They don't necessarily have to be literal or abstract. You're just going to think it up. If you had another terror here to whisper and conspire with, you'd have two different ones. But here it's up to you to decide what your theme of terror is going to be. You might be like a literal entity, maybe not. And there are a series of chapters which occur. And if you are, you won't be appearing physically until the very end. So again, something for you to kind of figure out. But all I need from you is a broad general theme. And that's going to be secret. That's going to be secret all for you, to kind of just give you a little bit of some theming for how you're going to be complicating our world. Awesome. So I will give the travelers just a little bit more time to talk about things and write things down.
Were we supposed to be talking about things? Oh no.
No.
Here I
No,
thought
you can, and again, this is so much of
Yeah.
like when I've decided to have my hands off the wheel and on the wheel
Yes.
in terms of like rules, because I think both are good and both produce interesting games. Sometimes players are like, "Can we coordinate?" And I just sort of shrug because why not? That's perfectly fine. But also sometimes when people don't, they might in game think that they want to coordinate, or maybe it's more interesting to be total strangers. Like one is not better than another, and all of them produce like really interesting things.
Well, now I'd like to coordinate.
He's so
Like-
clever. He put it into the book itself.
Oh my
No.
What a guy.
gosh.
But yeah, we can definitely coordinate. I thought about sending you a message on a separate social media platform to attempt to coordinate, but I'm like, nah, let's just go for it.
We have a chat in this
Yeah.
thing too.
Oh,
You know?
yeah, we do. I forget. I'm unused to streaming. So
So
ooh, great idea. Look at that. There it goes. The secrets
look at us
now
talking.
exist.
Look at us talking. This is good content.
It's
yes.
yeah, it's people enjoy watching a chat. Actually, like the chat should be visible to the players and no to the viewers and not the players. That would be exciting. They'd love
Now
that.
you're talking. So it's at the whole time and it's just running along. It's very good. All right, Jason, make it happen right now. Quick. For anyone not hearing, we have a ghost in the room, a sixth
Yeah.
member that we have decided to call Jason, for lack of a better term. Are you getting to the end there, travelers, with about what you're doing? What I think I can do as you're kind of finishing up is I will start to talk about cycle of play. and kind of rules is written a little bit. So play in Under the Autumn Strangely functions under what I call in the book the principle of narrative truth, which is to say that when you create something by seeing it, it is true and exists fully for everyone. Travelers, you're going to be doing this specifically from a first person's perspective. So you're going to say, I see this thing out there, and now it exists. The Arcadians are not limited by any particular point of view, and the terror will be narrating through an assumed outside observer. And the idea is that we are confirming everything that occurs, and so it's additive. As you're building the fiction, it exists and now it is true. And so as long as you are continuing to build, you are yes-anding. There's a bit of a process here with, hey, Rick, you want to hold up the middle of the book?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Boom.
So essentially, you are yes-anding to the left and no butting to the right. More on that later. But let me give an example of how each role is responsible tonally and also how it works. So the travelers, they're walking down a dusty country road. And let's say Vixie's character says, okay, well, I see an oak tree, and on that oak tree is a branch, and on the branch swings a lantern. The lantern, nor the branch or the tree, they did not exist before in the fiction, but now they do completely and fully for everybody. And so Emily might say, okay, well, there is a deep orange glow coming from that lantern. And then Pooja might say, but you notice that there is a crack in the glass of that lantern. So each thing builds on each does not contradict the last, but also we are kind of adding in our own kind of flavor, the own kind of tonal responsibility that exists, and that back and forth is where we're going to kind of meet in the middle, even though we don't know where it's going to be. So that's all additive. The question of what the mechanics are involve change. Does everybody have little baubles, little bits and bobs? Put them in your hands and hold them up to our audience. What kind of stuff do you have? I want to see what kind of stuff
As
you
a
have.
dice goblin, I just have dice.
Yeah, we got bits, we got
I
baubles.
I just got more dice. Yeah.
I also have dice. I've got cool wooden and acrylic dice.
I have this piece of ginger candy I'm gonna use.
I mean,
Um,
I have this super cool like nail file.
Great.
I can do that too.
Great.
I have little I have rocks.
Rocks. Rocks are perfect. Rocks are perfect. So
I have
the
my
idea
Writer's
is that
Guild on strike earrings. That's what I have.
there you go.
Hell
All right,
yeah.
that counts as 2 tokens, I think. Very exciting.
Yeah.
To get ahead of myself a little bit, there's 3 kinds of chapters in Under the Autumn Strangely: Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3. They are not necessarily linear. It's just naming convention. They're also known by a certain role. So Chapter 1 is also known as the Arcadians chapter. Chapter 2 is also known as the Travelers chapter. And Chapter 3 is also known as the Terrors chapter. Based on which chapter we begin, your role will start with a certain amount of change, either 1 or 2 or 3, and you're going to have that with little baubles. And there is a relationship in which you can contradict. Hey, Rick, you want to hold that up again?
Oh,
Rick,
I would love
you've
to.
been
I
you've
just-
been indispensable, my friend.
Yeah, buddy.
Absolutely indispensable.
Hey,
So
I
the
love
idea
helping.
is one role will be able to contradict one role, but it can only contradict another. So I'm going to talk about that now. And so the Traveler can contradict the Arcadian. The Arcadian is the only one who can contradict the Terror, and the Terror is the only one who can contradict the Traveler. That was a lot. So I'm going to break it all down and give an example of each to kind of understand thematically what they're trying to do. You can drop it, Rick.
No, it's cool. I can follow
Whatever you
along
want
with
to
the
do,
arrows
man.
too, buddy. Hey,
You're
I've
so
done
great.
some typing. I'm good. I've
Oh
written
man,
everything I need to.
Rick Mythworks, everybody. So the Terror is the only one who can contradict the Traveler. This represents the idea of what the Terror's intent is. The Traveler is lost in a place they don't understand, and there are things that occasionally spike in interest. So let me give you an example of how the no but and the change occurs. So the Traveler might say, okay, I have this delicious sandwich full of homemade jelly, and I take a huge bite. The Terror can take a piece of their change and pass it over. Here we're going to dramatically push it through our webcam, and you're like, oh, I have it now. Because it's going to go into your pool in front of you. The Terror can pass a change over to the Traveler and say, no, When you bite into the sandwich, you realize that it's not jam at all, but in fact blood. Essentially, what you're breaking this cycle of being additive by taking the last detail that occurred and changing it, replace it with anything you want, and that takes the change that you pass to that player that you're contradicting. Similarly, the Traveler is the only one who can contradict the Arcadian. This represents the idea that the Travelers are desperately trying to find normalcy in this world beyond their idea. So as the Arcadians are building and adding details, the Travelers could say, no, maybe this is a little more familiar to me, or this reminds me of something of my home, something like that. And then finally, the Arcadian is the only one who can contradict the Terror. This represents the idea that, yes, the Terror is growing and building over time, but they are of the Never-Was. And so in this way, the Arcadian can sort of affect them and sort of backdoor help the Traveler as well. So the Terror might say something as Rick's Traveler is running along, that a great bone hand comes up from the ground and grabs him by the ankle and pulls him underneath. And Emily could pass some change over to our lovely Terror and say, no, the bone hand misses and you trip instead and you keep running. So this is the basic idea. And so we're going to have these change. It's going to reset every chapter, but just we have a flow of how this is occurring. Broadly speaking, does this make sense? Would you like me to repeat or clarify anything that I've talked about so far? I see one thumbs up. I see some nice hands. I see, yeah, great, sick. All right.
Did you get into the yes and of each one? How each one can affirm and not just deny? Because I think that you only talked about the no buts, but there's specific arrows for the yes ands as well.
Yeah, so in the book there, it's really just to show a visual contrast. You're able to yes and to confirm anything that anyone else says. So you are not limited by what role is being occurred, and it also doesn't cost any change. It is a cycle that you're creating, and then there's these sudden breaks in like both the fiction as well as the mechanics, kind of adding that sudden emergency break feeling of, hang on, what is happening to our shared reality? Thanks, Rick.
I like being helpful.
Vixie and Rick, you're very, very helpful. And Rick Mythworks, would you like to share with our table your Travelers?
Yes, I would. I shall go first again since that's
Yeah, you love going first.
I love going first. Yay. Anyway, so my character's name is Elliot Johnson. Pen name EG, or EJ rather, EJ. He's 32 years old, pronouns he, they. He is a short, stocky, and lean, red-haired individual with a heterochromia. One eye is blue and one eye is a bright green. And unfortunately, due to this condition, he is colorblind. He cannot perceive the color red.
Fascinating.
So he was out researching. He's a nonfiction writer. So he was out researching the latest and inspiration for a story, found out about a murder that had been committed nearby. And while he was out researching it, that's when he found himself in the Never-Was.
Incredible. What were the initials again? What was the name?
EJ.
EJ.
Yeah,
Elliot
Johnson. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, EJ. Rick, I would love to hear about your Traveler.
I only give him my first name, but I guess I'll give him my last name right now. His first name is Duncan, and his last name is Risata. Duncan Risata. There we go. But you just call him Dunk. He's 17. He, him pronouns. Yeah. He is a big, broad, smiley fella around whom bad things just seem to happen. He feels that people don't like him because they think that he's scary, and it seems like by chance, oftentimes, something goes wrong. He didn't do it, but things line up where it seems as though he did it, and he just thinks that people have this perception of him that they don't like him. So Vixie and I discussed briefly on chat. We coordinated and collaborated.
Secrets.
That actually, I think that Elliot is Dunk's tutor or writing mentor, because I think that Dunk feels as though he can express himself better to the world through writing, and he thinks that, if people can get to know him through that, then they won't see how big and scary that I just happen to be and am, and I need to find my voice in that space. And Elliot is really helping me with that. And we were out in the forest looking at cool mushrooms and plants and the flow of animals in this area, and how the migratory patterns have shifted of I think was it birds? Elliot, was it birds? I don't
We were looking
well, it's birds
for
and mammals, right?
we were looking for the source of a murder.
Oh
Although
yeah, the
Yeah.
local migratory murders.
Yeah,
Oh,
but that's a fact,
I'm
so
sorry,
it's
Elliot.
relevant.
Yeah. How tall is Duncan, by the way? Because the
Uh,
height difference is killing me. Because Elliot's
Oh.
short.
Yeah,
Elliot's not a
he's-
tall fellow.
He's like let's say he's like 6'4" and
Nice.
a big broad boy. He's
Elliot's like 5'7". Um, so, but yeah, though you gave me a real life reference for the murder that he was researching. So thanks for that, because we're in a forest. So
What's Dunk's age and pronouns?
I think that I said he's about 17, and he's he him.
All right.
Yeah.
A young strapping lad.
Elliot's 32, short, angry.
There's a lot of straps. There's a lot of straps on you, Dunk.
You need, yeah. Well, it's all the pockets for the snacks.
And what were you doing just before you became lost in the Never Was?
I was in the same forest, not looking for murder clues. I was looking to write the paper on migratory disruptions of mammals and birds. Because that's what I was supposed to be working on and writing. I didn't know that you're here researching a murder. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you, EJ. Thank you, Dunk. All right. So I'm going to talk about chapters and the way that they work. After we do that, we're basically good to go. So, as I alluded to before, we have three kinds of chapters. The idea being that there's three things you do at the top to set up, and then three things have to be true at the end for it to stop. And then there's a natural break in which then, as players, we step forward and discuss which one do we want to have next. This is important because whoever is up top, the chapter is named after, you're responsible for certain details, which give us the direction and also a lot of power narratively. So the Arcadians being free of perspective, it's usually a good place to start. So we're going to start with chapter 1. We're going to start with that Arcadians chapter. That's Emily and I. So there are three things that Emily and I will have to do as we prepare for our chapter. The first is pick a song. This would be the point which I would show on Spotify that there's an official Under the Adam Strangely playlist. However, we're on a stream. That's complicated. What's that? I can hear Jason sweating his guts out right now, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to show off what it looks like. Here it is. Oh my gosh. Nope. Yeah, it looks like
there you
this.
go.
Yeah.
There's a QR code in the book, and also it's Under the Adam Strangely OST. Instead, hey, there it is. So everybody, quick, scan your phones and/or computer screens. What we're going to do is describe a piece of music. The idea being that we are going to think of a question. This is the second thing, and probably the most important, because the idea is that you play a piece of music, and that at a moment of your emotional choosing, you step in and begin an opening narration. And again, Arcadians will do it for Arcadian chapters, Travelers will do it for a Traveler's chapter, and the Terror will do it for a Terror's chapter. And the opening narration simply has to establish where are we and what's happening. But you can feel free to, again, really seed a lot of information. For us, it's in terms of setting tone and setting. And the idea is you're going to end by asking the question. Within a opening narration, that's role's ability to create all this stuff. So you can't contradict in the middle of it. And the idea is the question is going to bring us all together as players, establishing what needs to be answered by the end of the chapter, but then also signaling to the other players that we're now entering into the principle of narrative truth, in which everybody can feel free to add and contradict as they will. So the question is something like, what does happen to people when they go into the cornfield? Or what does live up in that attic? I don't need to know anything about a cornfield or an attic, but by asking the question, we are implying that we have to find the answer, because 3 things need to be true at the end for a chapter to be over. One is the question has to be answered. This frees you up a lot in terms of how you can interact with the question. So the idea of, so what does live up in the attic? At any point, a player can step forward kind of out of their role and be like, so we all know, right? Like we all know what's up in that attic. The idea being that, like, we don't need to fight it. We don't need to kill it. We don't even necessarily have to see it. But knowing what it is there means that we have a lot of leeway as long as we have, as players, that is our goal, is to find out the answer to this question as we're all kind of narrating and sort of collaborating, but also contradicting as we go. The second thing that has to be true is for one role to have no change left. We have some pairing, right? So Emily and I are both Arcadians. Rick and Vixie are both travelers. So you're going to have your own amount of change, but it's an assumed shared pool. The idea being that I don't really want to fixate on, oh, does this change belong to me? Does it belong to you? Because as you're passing, it's going to that player. So as long as someone has used a bulk of their change over the space of the game, that's okay, because the idea is that you want it to flow. So usually it's whoever is going to have the least amount of change will likely to be the person who triggers this. In the beginning, the terror is going to have very little, only 1. But by the end, the traveler gets less and less change, and the terror gets more and more. So if you start with only 1 piece of change in a chapter, it's likely that you're going to be the one that's there. And we can't look at the table, so we're all just kind of pay attention. And of course, as players, I'm encouraging people to check in. The last thing that has to be true in order for a chapter to be over is for one player to simply call for a fade out. This is essentially just a narrative safety valve, in the idea that, okay, so I didn't want it to just happen automatically if the other 2 things are true. And let's say we're role playing and we are trying to find that last little button, that last image of the scene that's really going to tie it together. We know we've answered the question, and change has moved around. And so when we reach that point, we can have somebody say, that's it, absolutely. And again, that's it. Just one player has to be the one to call for it, and that's it. So again, finding that moment again is this like collaborative moment. So that's the bottom. I'm going to go back to the top. You have to pick a song, which Emily and I will, negotiate and or describe a piece of music. We will begin an opening narration, which just has to establish where we are and what's happening. Which again, well, I feel confident in Emily and I kind of tennis matching back and forth, just like a little bit of details, listen to each other. And Emily, do you think you have in mind a specific question that you would like to ask at the end? Not saying what it is yet, but do you think you have something, or would you like to think of it? Because I would.
I have a sense. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. So that'll be it. That'll be good, because it'll get us going. And that's it. So with a Arcadians chapter, that means that travelers, you're going to start with 3 change each. Go ahead and give yourself 3 change. The Arcadians are going to have 2 each. So, one of these and, I guess my empty coffee mug. And then the terror only has 1. So sad, so sorry. However, you will get more. So you have one change to start.
So
Yes, go ahead.
So if we have change,
Yeah.
we use it as like a currency, right?
Uh-huh.
So we should be checking our pockets for loose change.
Absolutely. It works on so many levels. It changes and it's change, which changes using change. You got it. See, Vixie, you're like 3 steps ahead. You already got
Always
it.
thinking.
Always thinking. That's what we like here. Okay, would you like me to clarify anything that I've said? Because I'm probably gonna shoot over to Jason. Cough, cough, cough. Are you there, Jason? For a short break before we begin, because that's about the end of setup. What's
Who
that,
was
Jason?
that?
What did you say? Oh. Jason is pleased to tell everyone that he's been heavily breathing into the microphones this entire time. It's been very hard to concentrate. Is there anything anyone would like me to repeat or clarify before we jump into a quick break? I see a thumbs up.
Just the yes and for me. The concept of the yes and that.
Yeah. What would you, do you have a specific
just-
question?
Just if you could just repeat that like for clarification, because I
Yeah.
sometimes get it confused with the no but, and I don't want to get confused in the game.
Right. So the triangle is largely a visual representation of what's happening. There is not any limitation of who can be yes-anded, who can be confirmed.
Okay.
The cycle of details being added just have to build on something else. You can't
Okay.
go back and contradict or change anything unless you use the change and only within your role. So the lantern and the tree and the light and the crack, none of those things are actually contradictory in any way. They're all necessarily true. So as you are building, that you just have, is this additive? If you're using change to change something, you have to ask yourself, does this contradict something that's occurred, or is it additive? And again, it's the zooming in on what's happening. You're adding more details and more details. You notice something else, you notice something else. This is important for the terror because perhaps we have something that occurs, but then there's this other detail which is also there. That is the terror adding that kind of twist to the knife. Or for
Okay.
you, in terms of whatever you decide and tonally you want to adjust, again, from the perspective of your character. Is that a little more clear?
Yes, that is much clearer. Thank you.
Cool. Amazing. Anybody else? Would anybody like to repeat anything going on?
Are you sure you don't want me to perform Turkey in the Straw instead of describing music? Because
Emily,
I will.
I said yes. Before the stream started, I said yes, and you were like, I don't know if people will like it. And I'll be like, Emily, everyone's gonna love it. Jason was the only one who said no, right, Jason? Jason. Okay. Great. Let's shoot to a short break, and I'll see everybody soon. Hi, everybody. We're back. Back to the never was. Okay, so we talked about all the things we need to talk about. We clarified all the things we need to clarify. We have some change of varying shapes, sizes, and degrees. We have our point of view characters. So I think, Emily, if you're excited about a piece of music and or a question, what we can do is have you describe the piece of music, and then we will enter in and kind of tennis match back and forth until again we find the moment is right
Sure.
and the question is
Sure.
being asked. And that's the kind of thing, everyone take note of the question, write it down if you will, because most importantly, that's what we're trying to do, is find out the answer to this question through playing.
Yes.
So if we're ready to rock, by all means, Emily, what is the piece of music that we can all kind of feel
Yeah.
flowing through us?
Yes. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with Cape Breton folk music. It's a tradition out of New England and Canada, Atlantic Canada, that is very fiddle heavy. You know, it's very wonderful to listen to. I recommend checking it out. But I think it is the kind of music you play when the fall is almost over. You know, that music that's like in the weird interregnum between we're listening to like kind of creepy autumnal sounds, and then, you know, before you break out the 24/7 Christmas station, it's, you know, very much the feeling of the first chill is in the air. And the music is all on fiddles, and yeah, I wish that to convey that we are overlooking the sea. So Graham. Well, it could be a cover of Taylor Swift's gosh, it's a cover of Taylor Swift's Willow. That's a song people will know, played on Cape Breton fiddle in a very wintry way. So there we go. I was responding to a ghost audience, and that's
we
what
call
just
it
happened.
Jason. Okay,
Yeah,
we're
Jason, the
I'm
ghost that haunts the Happy Jacks virtual
Apparently.
studio.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Graham, do you have anything to add or clarify?
yeah, it's I think there's uh, a crisp whine to it. I like this wintry feel. So these high notes of the violin are held and then fall off in this kind of discordant way. It's slow, and occasionally this like very chilly cello, I think, underscores all of it.
Lovely. Yeah. So I said earlier you're overlooking the sea, but it is very much the traditional Homeric wine dark sea. There's a quality to it that's very rich and burgundy in color. And as you're walking along, you notice just sort of the seas over here. I'm gesturing to my right, and to your left is what appears to be just an endless cranberry bog. Just little red berries floating atop the water. I should have looked at more on how cranberry bogs operate, but in this world they operate in terms of there's the cranberries floating there. And yeah, I think you become aware as you walk along that like there are disturbances in the water. Not You are not yet alarmed. It's very much just waves. But yeah, it's Graham, would you like to take it away from here?
The mists are rolling off of this wine dark sea, which is cold, chilly in the air, and there's a slight uh, um, frost that comes off it as well. The mist is palpable, and from it you can see two shapes coming towards us. One small, one at least two or three heads taller. And as they come out of the mists, there's a swirling of a slight snowflake that melts instantly as we see a short, stocky, nervous, red-headed man and a huge, honest, lovely looking younger man who is stepping uncertainly 2 steps behind before his huge foot sinks into the ground a bit unceremoniously and pulls up, and all along the bottom of his boot are crushed cranberries.
Yeah, and so as you are as the two of you are sort of like walking along, you note that the cranberry disturbances in the bog sort of disrupt, and up out of the bog pops the head of a muskrat wearing a monocle and a little hat and carrying a pipe. And the muskrat just sort of looks at you, looks very quizzically, ducks head back down, and then swims sort of in the direction back toward the center of the bog. And you can just see through those mists that there is like a small village structure sort of sitting at the center of this bog. And my question to you is sort of twofold. How do you think you might get there, and why do you want to go there? If you
Writing
do.
it down because my short-term memory is a
No,
peanut.
it's important to write it down, regardless of your memory, because again, we have kind of two dual roles. We are the tonal responsibility of your role, but then also as players, we are separate from Vixie and Rick and Emily and Graham. And so as players, our job is to answer this question. So it's important that we know. So why do you want to go to the village?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Why do you want to go to the village? And is there an easy way there?
Why do you want
Wonderful.
to go to the village? Is there an easy way? I think that the muskrat, like the short stocky man, kind of jumps and says, "Oh, what?" And he looks back at the tall guy and says, Duncan, we were in the
You did?
forest about a few minutes ago, right?"
Yeah, we don't have cranberry bogs where we live. Much less mammals that wear monocles outside of humans.
Are we dead? Did we die? Did we walk off a cliff? Do you remember?
No. I don't think do we have we've got big mountain, but I don't think that we climbed up big mountain.
Like
There is there is a crash of water, the waves, the ocean, and then the hiss of it receding before it comes again, rhythmically, always present.
I'm pretty sure also we don't have the sea at home.
Yeah. What did you say these were? Blackberries? And he like sticks his hand into the like the cranberry bog and pulls up a handful of these cranberries. They look pretty dark to me, kind of like a black color.
You hear a voice out of the mist that says, "You're gonna have to pay for those."
You-
Immediately drops all of them, like the handful.
Wait, they don't
They
look.
stick to your hand.
He like tries to drop them. They can't, they don't come off. And he's like, "Aw."
I have a question for Elliot though. You're red colorblind as established earlier. What do the
Yes.
cranberries look like to you
black
for
to
you
him.
to
They
know
look-
that they're darker than usual?
He assumed they were blackberries because
Happy
they
Happy
like,
Jacks audience, that's next level role playing from our own
Hey.
Vixie. Thinking that's 5-dimensional RP chess.
Hey,
5D chess, let's go. But he's like he thinks that they're like some kind of black, like literal blackberries. They because they're such a deep red color. Because
Oh,
instead of like actually being able to read the color red, he reads it as like a gray spectrum.
oh. They
And as EJ tries to drop these blackberries, they're realize that they're covered in tiny thorns.
Penny, what?
Thorns,
Oh, great. And
and have embedded themselves just
If you
just
found the
under
spiky
skin.
ones, that's going to cost extra.
Duncan,
I don't. What currency do you take?
a furry brown creature, muskrat, human sized, hauls itself up out of the bog, sort of waddles over to you and says, "That'll be 10 Beelzebucks."
A small muskrat-sized human wearing a monocle and similar hat walks up next to the giant muskrat. And 15 Threegles!
I have 15 US bucks and 16 centals.
What is
Put
a
it on
US
lay
buck?
pay.
It's green and it looks like this. And he pulls out
Mm.
15 US dollars.
That is disgusting and it smells awful.
I agree. I
We
would
hate
love
it.
it if you would take it from me.
The muskrat looks pointedly at EJ, who still has cranberries stuck to their hand.
Trying to get them off. What's your return policy? These are defective. I just need to put them back. I
No,
haven't
those
done
are
anything to them.
those are delicious. Those are the best. You've grabbed some of the best. That's why I'm charging you at such a premium. Yeah.
The spiky ones.
They're a bit dark. Maybe we could just put them back. I haven't done anything to them. I haven't bitten them or eaten them. I just kind of stuck my hand in and came up with this.
You have made them just by touching them. You have made them slightly less tasty to anyone but yourself. You have to eat them. I'm going to watch you eat them.
The small muskrat-sized human folds his arms and taps his foot in the bog water, which splashes.
It's not right. I can't eat something that I haven't paid for.
Well, that's why you need to pay for it. So you have a US buck and a cent. What is a cent? Something that smells bad? It smells as bad as the buck?
That's awful.
Smells better. You're supposed to put it in your nose. And he
Oh.
pulls out
Technically,
some
it's part of
change.
100 because it's the word centennial. It's the hundred. Well,
The what? The what? The what?
it's part of
it's
100.
Oh, this one's like a better monocle because it lets you not have to see things you don't want to see. You just put it right up in your eye.
Duncan's got a point.
Oh.
Yeah.
That looks quite fancy. It's quite glittery. What do you think? Looks to the muskrat looks to his companion.
The small human reaches out and takes 2 dimes from you and pops out the lenses of his goggles and pops in the dimes and then very carefully places them up.
You look
I mean, I can't see anything. He's right.
and you look beautiful. You look absolutely stunning.
The tiny human models the new dime glasses.
What?
And just as the tiny human strikes that pose, you see the goggles blink with very attractive, very long lashes at you.
Well, if you have more of those cents, we will take those in trade. That sounds like a viable deal to me. What do you think?
Yes, I think we could do very well.
He starts rummaging for change in his pockets. Hey, are you gonna eat those things?
I
Oh,
don't even know how. They're stuck on me.
Me neither. Maybe you can ask them to get them off of you. Maybe they want to eat them.
We paid for them. They're ours now. What are you talking about?
That's true.
Oh, you know what? We need to keep moving forward. Maybe we just ask them how to eat them.
How do you eat these?
Who
The
said that?
thorns. I did.
Hello?
The big hello. How do you eat these fruits? The thorns would hurt our mouth if we were to just do that, and I didn't bring a knife with me.
well, you ask them nicely to retract their thorns, and they will. That's where all the flavor is. That goes inside the berry, then they burst as you chew into it. My goodness, have you never heard of a cranberry before?
We're from the woods.
Woods? There's no woods around here.
There's no sea where we're from.
The sea is all. The sea is everywhere. The sea is everything. Please eat the berries. I will introduce myself. I am Hiram Fursplash. I live in the village. And this is my compatriot.
Hello, I am Compatriot. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Who said
May-
that?
Oh dear. Maybe we should try to get to the village. There might be a way for us to get back to where we're from because we're a little bit lost.
All right. Yes, there is a way to the village. You're good swimmers, correct? It's about a mile swim.
We're supposed to swim through points to Cranberry Bog.
Where else
Despite-
would you swim? The sea? You don't want to swim in the sea. It's full of danger.
And it's everywhere.
Well,
There-
if we could swim through everywhere, then we could get to anywhere.
I like this one. He's got a head on his shoulder, even if he doesn't know how to eat a cranberry.
Excuse me, Cranberries, can you could you maybe please retract your spikes so that I can eat you?
They do nicely as you ask. They're like, and there's like a little sound as they do.
He immediately gives this bag, like this handful of cranberries to Duncan.
Oh. And
fine.
I think that they stab into my hands because I haven't asked their needles to retract.
Oh no!
It's ow. Please stop that. Thus, I might eat you.
They do as well.
Okay. Well, which one of you wants to go first? Is a
I
question
do.
he asks rhetorically, but I'm sure one of them answers.
I do.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I said I
Okay.
wanted to go first.
Well, you can both go first, I guess.
Hooray.
We're definitely not at home.
As you bite into it, there's little psh, 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 as like the thorns explode in your mouth, like in a flavor way, not in a explosion way. Every single little bite gives you a memory of the best winter day you had as a child, playing in the snow, whatever that means to you. You're overcome with the feel of it.
If you are
I am
okay,
going
oh,
to
I also
So-
wanted it to.
The terror can only contradict the traveler.
Mm.
I would love to
I wrote
contradict.
down
But you
my
can
thing
but you can
wrong.
contradict us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to contradict. It's not a memory of my best winter days. It's a
Okay.
memory of someone else's best winter days.
All right, Graham, whose winter day was that? I'll do it,
it's-
but I feel like I'm talking a lot. So
No, you're doing great. You don't know. There's somebody who is a sister you've never had who is making a snow fort. You are deep in the snow. You struggle to get out. And then the sun hits your face so warmly. And as you come back to, you can hear one of the cranberries say, "Oh yeah, it's just stuff," as it dives down your throat.
I think after the sun hits my face so warmly, there is also the impact of a snowball on it and laughter as the camera pulls away into the, oh yes, that's the one. Yeah.
As you pop one cranberry after another into your mouth, you can hear tiny cries of "wee, wee."
we exist to be consumed.
Do you think maybe if
Um,
we ask these cranberries nicely, they'll part to let us through to the village?
Why would you want them to part? I'm sure that if you ask them nicely, they'd do just about anything, but they would feel quite offended, I'm sure.
Well, I think it's all in how you ask. I'm a writer, you see. My art is words. So, he looks down and says, "Oh, forgive me that I've been very rude. My name is Elliot Johnson. You can call
Elliot,
me-
Elliot?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's an odd name. If my name isn't Compatriot.
You can call me EJ. It's easier.
EEJ?
EJ. EEJ. Eej. Oh,
EJ.
hello, Eej.
Hi,
What,
Eej. I'm Compatriot.
You say the two E's together, so it's EJ.
Oh,
That's too many E's.
J.
Oh,
And
Anyway,
you are-
that's too many E's. I'm
and
down
you,
here.
my
I
tall lad,
forget.
are. This is very tall for a human. You're both very tall for a human.
I'm Dunk.
Hello, Dunk. Well, I suppose you could try and ask the cranberries to part. They might. You never know.
right. Yes, his name's actually Duncan, but if you prefer Dunk, that's fine. I'm gonna ask the cranberries to very nicely see if they could assist us. They seem to want to be very helpful and polite, so excuse me, cranberries.
Yes.
Are looking very lovely today. You're a very bright shade of
Red.
gray.
What did
And
she
I
say
was-
to us?
I was wondering if perhaps you could help us. There's a special task that only you can do.
Oh. Okay. What's on the docket for the day? I'm gonna add it to the minutes.
Well,
Slowly the cranberries bob in the water and coalesce and become this tiny little pile, a little pyramid of cranberries, and a scroll unveils from the top one.
Cranberry Court, let's go. And EJ sort of takes a deep breath and says, well, if it would please the court to lend us some assistance, we are traveling towards the village in the distance, and I was just wondering if perhaps, rather than rudely stepping through where you all are resting and biding your time, waiting for the someone to come upon you, if we could maybe have a clear passage so that to create the least disturbance possible.
There's a whisper that's just like a susurration that goes all the way down back toward the village and then comes all the way back. And the top of the little blah, 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 cranberry tower says, "We will comply as long as you ask in the form of a limerick."
And as
No. Please go ahead.
as the top cranberry makes this pronouncement, another cranberry comes up to the scroll that has unraveled down this pyramid of cranberries and erupts a new thorn from itself and begins writing out a contract in what appears to EJ as very dark gray ink. And what Rick or what Dunk can see as a very like heavy viscous cranberry juice.
It grows in a droplet of this liquid, viscous, holding its shape before it begins to drip slowly down the length of the scroll.
Just sure, of course, I can ask this in the form of a limerick, absolutely. Just give me one moment to confer with my...
You said words were your trade, did you not?
She
Yes.
said words were her trade.
She did, she did, she did, she did.
Yes, part of words is discussion, which is why I should discuss with my partner, motions to Duncan, and goes,
Proceed.
and which is why he motions to Duncan, sorry, me, myself. He goes over to Duncan and says, come here, and like pulls him by the collar, like so that he can get to eye level, because short. Are you any good with limericks at all?
We can find out right now.
I have to perform it, so
Oh.
because apparently it's me, and they are very by the letter here. But I'm a
Um,
nonfiction writer. I don't
well-
do limericks.
Well, hey, all they said is you, and you can be argued easily as a collective noun
Oh my
to the both of
gosh.
us. And in that case, I can be a part of the you that is us.
Do you
The
feel like
cran-
getting into an argument with a bunch of spiky cranberries over semantics?
Okay. I mean, we're
Once-
gonna be wading through them anyway.
One of the
But I
cranberries.
mean, if you want to do the limerick, we can do that too.
One of the cranberries, hearing this, clarifies. As a language, English lacks a second person plural and uses you as both singular and plural. It used to be thou and thee, but now we just have you. Therefore, either of you can deliver the limerick and we will part. If indeed you both wish to have us part, if one of you does not, then perhaps you should discuss that yourselves. But if one of you wants to deliver the lyric, it will be acceptable for both of you. But isn't nonfiction mostly written in verse?
And as this proclamation from one of the cranberries, the cranberry host comes, the scroll unrolls and unrolls and unrolls and unrolls. And as the cranberry continues to pontificate upon the meaning of language, the scroll gets longer and longer and longer until it rolls past you and disappears into the mist beyond.
So, okay. We'd like to move through the bog, and it would make easier for us our slog if you berries would slide and move to the side so we can make our way to the town.
That final line didn't
Town?
rhyme.
There is a rumbling in the bog.
So we can make our way to the town. Oh God, what rhymes with town?
The rumbling deepens.
Oh,
And-
so we can make our way along more like frog.
Yes! They all cheer.
There's a great ripple of joy through, and you can see all along the bog. You can barely see any water because the surface floats an endless sea of cranberries.
And our legs shift slightly towards froggish. We can have little leaping leg. Hopefully this goes away when we get to the end of the bog.
Your shoes feel, both of you,
Mhm.
wildly uncomfortable all of a sudden. You're like they are constricting your toes and heel.
EJ gives Duncan this look like you had to say frog legs, huh?
I didn't say frog legs. I said like frog. That was hope. I just wanted us to get through.
Hiram
Your
first
heart was in
splash.
the right place.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I said
Hiram.
your heart was in the right place, but pick your similes and metaphors carefully, okay?
Hiram first splash turns to compatriot and says, "Do you think these are perhaps the ones who were foretold?"
You're always saying that. You
I
think
am.
every person that comes through is foretold. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you always say this.
The prophecy said, unusually tall humans,
Okay.
as handsome as the day is long. And
Whew,
look at
you're
them
not
now. They're
kidding.
so gorgeous with those frog legs.
That's true. No, they just got a lot handsomer. Okay, no, I see your argument. I do.
Let's see what happens now. And then they like look at you expectantly, tapping their feet like,
Compatriot pushes his tiny hands together and then pushes his fingers to his lips.
Well, we kept our end of the deal. We asked in the form of a limerick, so the cranberries should uphold their end.
Yes, I believe that there is. It is not the bog is not like totally like you're gonna get your shoes wet, but you could wade through it.
Well, I believe Dunk has taken his shoes off and has slung them over his shoulder to embrace the new slightly froggish. Like I think that Dunk is probably standing up at full height, and he now has gone from like 6'4" to 7'8" on full frog leg. Just a big giant boy.
Oh my gosh. Your froggy webbed toes spread out, and you can see there is very little human about your feet at all.
I think that EJ is horrified, but he's followed suit because obviously the shoes we're not gonna walk around in uncomfortable shoes. So he also like has the shoes in it, like he's holding his shoes, but is genuinely like horrified at what has happened. And he is taller, but he's still kind of like he's more comfortable being shorter, so he's kind of slouched, like in opposition to Duncan, who's standing up taller. And he's like, let's just get going. Hopefully we're not dead or something. And keeps like and just starts moving forward and like gives a very, very like thank you very much for your help. It was very nice meeting you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Moving towards the village.
I think if we were dead, it would be an easier explanation than whatever else is happening.
Maybe this is what happened to the murder victim.
You you are able to walk if you want to, but you do find with your frog legs, it could be just as easy to swim if you so felt inclined. And the cranberries are positioned like they're in a sports stadium, and they're like cheering you on. They're so excited about this. It's the most that's happened to them in a while.
Oh, Dunk can't resist but live up to his name and himself into the water and swim. These cranberries are enthusiastic about him being him. Loves it. Let's go do a swim.
Uh,
And
Where-
when else is he gonna get the chance?
Out of
You're always
concern for
saying I
Duncan.
should embrace new experiences and find ways to embody them into my writing. When else am I gonna be a frog?
And out of concern for Duncan getting too far ahead and like getting lost, Elliot joins him in the swim and is sort of like it can't keep up because he's not as tall as Duncan, but is like behind him and keeping him within like eye line to try to make sure that they're at least together. He doesn't actually lose him in the
I am going to use
Oh.
my token.
Oh, I
Oh.
got negated. Oh no.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say that as Elliot has this thought of like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to go as fast because I'm not as tall. You feel a change that comes over these legs, and they become thicker and more muscular, and propel with every stroke of the frog legs as they scissor together, propel you faster.
Hiram swimming alongside shouts to compatriot on the other side, even more handsome.
That's the way, EJ.
Extra thick. That's all I'm thinking.
It's two C's.
Scissoring with 4 C's.
Yes. So I think with that in mind, Elliot catches up to Duncan and is surprised by that because I don't think he's like this was something that he realized that necessarily like all in one shot. He doesn't realize it till like it happened. And he's like, and it just kind of becomes almost a playful moment where he says, "Come on, Dunk, keep up."
Oh, and Dunk is struggling too. He's having a lot of fun, but he's used to being the one who's like in the lead on something like this, but he's also realizing he's never been a frog before. It's very great. He's happy you're feeling so joyful with your frog legs.
EJ, as you turn over your shoulder and shout for Dunk to catch up, you feel a memory come over you, one that is not yours, of a
Mhm.
pleasant spring day, one in which you are being chased through a forest that is flooded. And you look back and you can see a full-sized adult Duncan chasing after you.
He kind of makes a face from like, what is what like, and like shakes his head like he's like his the facial expression is that what face, but like he shakes his head like, okay, that was weird. We're gonna keep swimming towards the village. And hopefully the village is becoming closer.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
so-
it is indeed just a mile away, and there's no like weird distance magic here. You are
Okay.
closing the distance as you'd expect.
I mean, what are we even looking for in there? Are we just want to know where it is so we know where we are? We don't know where we are, and wherever we are, it's not a place where we're used to being, because this is not like home. That's not like home. The berries in my belly are not like home. None of the thoughts and memories that I had are like home either.
and I think at those questions, like, EJ stops and like treads water or treads berries a little bit, and is like, and like looks into the village and looks to that's closer up. And says, well, I guess my thought process was that maybe we would find something there that would help us get back, or at least find out where we are, more information about where we are. I don't know about you, but whatever currency they have here isn't something that we have, let alone a muskrat-sized human with a monocle.
I'm going to ask the travelers a question. Have either of you been to or seen a photo of the skyline of Boston, Massachusetts?
A very long time ago.
Probably in some textbook that he didn't realize is like a silhouette of the skyline of Boston. Or it's just like, oh yeah, you know, some American history textbook that he had in high school, and he didn't know that that's what he's looking at, but he's seen it before. It's
Well-
logged in his brain somewhere.
I
As
think-
you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think he's seen it a long time ago, but not like, but like on a trip.
Mhm.
Again, it was a trip to like investigate another story to kind of find out more about it. And it took place in Boston, so he's vaguely familiar with it, but not to the point where he'd like remember it photographically, if that makes sense.
As you approach the village, you note that it is an exact replica of the skyline of Boston, to scale, built out of mud and wood and thatch. It's all muskrat dens, but it looks exactly like the skyline of Boston.
Each den is clearly shaped like a human face on each.
Actually, I'm gonna give you a token and say no,
Okay.
but they're not shaped like a human face. They are shaped like muskrat faces, but they're shaped like historical American figures, muskrat faces.
Muskrat
Yes.
faces.
Yes, yes, yes.
Historical
So-
muskrats. Great.
Yes, 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 yes,
Great.
yes.
Okay. And I think I guess as they arrive and they come up here and see all these muskrat face houses, I think EJ just becomes even more confused. And he looks at Duncan as like, does any of this look familiar to you?
Well, that one is John Quincy Adams, but a muskrat. And that one it looks like maybe, I don't know, one of the Adamses, you know, the people who traded in cod.
Oh, I kind of see it when I squint a little bit. Yeah, you're right.
Hey,
I find it very offensive that you cannot recognize our founding muskrat, John Hamilton, as my visage is quite recognizable. You hear coming from the house that you have been discussing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How do you respond to being scolded by a house?
Exactly like you said. We're sorry to the founding muskrat, to Mr. Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton. We're just looking for information, and we were admiring the architecture. We did not. You are a very finely crafted piece of building.
The house stands up a little straighter, if one could be sad for.
The rest of the mud bar shifts around as the foundation is pulled up just a few noticeable feet.
Smaller buildings nearby collapse.
As you are observing this, you hear the sounds of what sounds like a brass band, but no brass band you've ever heard before. And marching down out onto a dock that you are approaching is a muskrat in like a coat with all sorts of medals on it and a top hat and holding a pipe like this. He is accompanied by a band of what appear to be like 14 or 15-year-old humans, all muskrat sized, playing brass instruments but made out of like reeds and stuff, so they do not sound quite right. And the the muskrat holds up a hand and goes like this and says, "I am the mayor. Welcome to Boston, Massachusetts."
And
Boston,
the, the, the,
Massachusetts.
the tiny members of the band all elbow each other and like laugh once the name is said.
The and the mayor says, "Silence! These are the ones who were foretold, I am told."
They all stand, the tiny humans stand at attention.
What do you mean foretold?
You were foretold. We were told that you were coming, that you would be tall, unusually tall for humans, and handsome as the day is long. And look at you.
The whole band nods.
I'm tall and you're handsome.
You're both quite tall and both quite handsome. So thank you for coming. Perhaps you can help us with our problems.
What exactly were we foretold to do?
Well, that's it. You were foretold to help us with our problems. We don't have problems, so you must create them and solve them.
Oh, it looks at Dunk. Says, looks at Dunk for a minute. Says, well,
What kind of problems are we expected to create? I seem to have a knack for it.
You still have your boots over your shoulder.
Yes.
The muskrat kind of waddles over, looks up at them. "Oh, you killed a bunch of cranberries. Well, that's a problem."
Okay. And then I ate a bunch of them that asked to be eaten. So
They gave
I
themselves willingly. That's fine.
exactly. So I gave some of them the perfect end that they might ever have had wanted.
well, technically, we didn't actually step on any cranberries. We politely asked them to give us passage to the village.
Oh, they're talking about before.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
I believe the first thing that happened when you entered this was you stepped on some cranberries.
I did.
Good
Yes.
job, Duncan.
And then you hear from the very back of the small gathering a small voice say, "Excuse me. I think that I might have a problem you could solve."
The huge Hamilton house stretches its mouth widely. "Let the boy speak!" And the tiny humans and very large muskrats part ways.
"Hi, my name is Susie. I'm a girl, but they all think I'm a boy sometimes. And my name is Susie, and I'm supposed to be in the actual Boston, but I got on the wrong bus, and I want to get home for dinner. So if you could help me with that, I would greatly appreciate it. And you can know I'm from Boston because I talk like this sometimes. Talk about the Red Sox."
Her hands are coated in cranberries, front to back, both sides, and she gesticulates sadly, as her accent shifts.
You must be a writer. Your hands are covered in ink.
No, they're covered in cranberries. It's all I've had to eat for several days, and I don't really like cranberries, and I like them even less now. Though they are nutritious and filling.
Thank you.
That's what my dads always say.
And your dad is right.
Oh boy.
You hear the tiny voices of the tiny chorus coming from in Susie's pockets.
I hear it from inside my stomach as well.
Can you tell me more about these cranberries? There's like a gleam in Elliot's eye, like he just pieced something together and he really wants to like follow this track.
"I believe I can answer that question," says the mayor. Actually, no, I'm going to introduce another muskrat. Why not? "I believe I can answer that question," says a woman with long, flowing golden fur, wearing a lab coat. "I am Professor Musker. and I am here to tell you about the relationship. The cranberries were here first. The cranberries speak. The cranberries tell us of their wants. The muskrats were brought here to take care of the cranberries. And then we started to have these humans pop up because we grew them. They are our cran babies. They come out of the cran bog. And also, there is Susie, who's here and having fun.
Professor Musker motions to her left, and you can see a huge screen and a diagram showing the bog and the cranberries and how they come. And there's a bunch of arrows in which she points to, each emphatically.
It's a weird triangle, and there's arrows running both directions that say who can say yes, yes, and who can say no, but.
Except it says cranberry, and then it says bog, and then on the far left, there's question mark, question mark, question mark.
Baby, maybe?
I think Elliot takes a deep breath. Says, "All right, we've well, one step at a time. If the cranberries were here in the beginning, maybe the way to get back is to speak, to commune with the cranberries on an esoteric level."
What's an esoteric level?
Sorry.
Level.
Perhaps a seance. I don't know. I'm not a ghost hunter.
The band gets really excited when you say seance, and they all start to play on their reed instruments. It all sounds like kazoos. It has a kind of like muffled sound to it, but it's like a slow minor key, almost funeral barge.
I think on that note,
Because it's a band, everyone.
That's
we
Uh,
can
Took me a minute.
we can
Sorry.
fade out
Great.
in the scene.
Sick. Okay. So what was the answer to our questions? I love our fade out. That's wonderful.
Mhm.
So why do they want to get there? How do they get there? They got frog legs, right? And you
They-
swim.
Yeah.
They parted the sea and swam.
So why
Um,
did they want to get to Massa Muskrat
it's Boston,
Boston,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. I know Elliot was going looking for answers. He thought they would
Answers.
be best found in like a more civilized area, if you will.
I mean,
more-
a fundamental question we're looking for is where are we? And we now know where we are is
yeah, Boston,
Boston,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Awesome. Okay, great. I love it. So what we could do is we can either jump into our next chapter and ask about what we want next, and or take a short break in between, depending on how we're feeling. It's a really good momentum. How's everybody doing? Would you like some water? Are you good to go?
Let's
good to go.
let's keep it going.
Right on. Okay, so here it is. So now we're back to players. Now it's more like Pooja and Rick and Emily and Vixie and myself. So what does the story demand? What do we feel like? So we can then choose what comes next. If we are a travelers chapter, the travelers are in charge of the opening, right? And it's narrated from a first person perspective. You can jump straight into a terror chapter, which then again, the terror would be able to set the opening narration, ask the question. You could even double back on the Arcadians chapter, in which it adds further to the world and tone. So far on what we've done based on pacing, tone, what else, what does it feel like the story demands? What feels like we're earnestly heading towards?
Terror.
There it
Yeah?
is.
On it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel we've set up a lot of like deeply uncanny things that there are a lot of like dominoes that Pooja I feel can just, start pushing over and set up piles of her own and
Yeah,
send at
I
us.
was kind of thinking because we had that like EJ had suggested a seance. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it
Yeah.
feels a little bit like a traveler chapter where the travelers are like, okay, let's do some magic about it. But
For sure. For
That's
sure.
cool too.
What's your instinct, Emily?
I am fine. My instinct is driven by I have a toddler that I've left with my wife, but and I want to relieve her at some point. But I do think that Pooja's instinct of probably we need a little bit more setup on the what the terror might be is the right one. So I'm thinking maybe a short traveler chapter into a more extensive terror denouement.
Well, here's the thing. I'm absolutely okay with us doing like a reasonable, like one chapter and then ending in some way, right, with like a cliffhanger, unless we're like bam, bam, super duper short. Um, whatever
Sure.
the case may be. Because again, there's not like, all right, we don't have to do one, two, three. Each story is not necessarily only 3 chapters long. They can be one, they can be two, whether or not it's a singular story or if it ends right more episodically with like what will be over the next hill. Is it more bogs and something else, right? It can play out. Um, I I like the travelers. I like having the travelers focus in. I think this is a
Okay.
good thing because the seance it suggests a lot, and so I putting the travelers in the driver's seat sounds exciting to me because they've been frankly pushed around quite a lot by this strange reality. So allowing themselves to kind of ground and kind of decide what this might be sounds awesome to me.
I mean,
So,
sounds good
so
to me.
Yeah, that's
It's
good.
I mean, it also eventually, if we end up doing a terror chapter, it gives Pooja plenty more tools even to twist
Yes,
and turn at us.
or
So
dominoes.
yeah.
So those of you listening at home can go and like find a song to listen to. Here, what you're going to be doing is simply describing it, right? So you imagine where we are. And so again, your opening narration between the two of you, all it has to say is where are we and what's happening. It seems like we are going to jump in immediately. There's always this kind of chance for sort of loosey-goosey time in terms of like how much has passed or whatever, but it does kind of feel like we're going to jump straight into the seance. But again, as both of you are narrating, you get to establish essentially anything you want, and we can't contradict you. We can't interrupt you in any way. Simply just ending with the question, which will then focus on how we are going to finish our chapter. So, it being a traveler's chapter, it means that we each have 2 change each. Travelers, you now only have 2 change. Arcadians have 2, because we always have 2. And Terror, you have 2. Terror, it looks
What?
like you have a question. I see a question hand.
Just real quick before we start this chapter,
Yeah.
can you describe Susie one more time for me?
Susie has not been properly described, but she is probably about 9. She has long, straight blonde hair, very creamy pale skin, bright blue eyes that are slowly turning red, and she's wearing a Boston Red Sox 2004 World Series champions t-shirt.
And her hands are completely covered in cranberries front and
And
back.
yes, and to be clear, the t-shirt is very old and worn. It appears like it belonged to an older sibling or a parent or something.
Love that.
What if she's just been there for so long?
Back with this child, and it's been like 100 years or something.
Yeah.
Ah,
All right. So, travelers, you get to coordinate with each other about how you're going to do the music, in what way you're going to share the spotlight in terms of establishing opening narration, and then again, what the question is going to be, whether or not one of you has a general idea, if you want to think of it before you begin, or if you're just going to find it as you go. It's really up to y'all to negotiate.
I'm already typing. So
No, typing's good.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, if
yeah.
you want to type, I can just
we
fill the
can
dead
also talk it
air.
out. That's
No,
better. Yeah,
I'm 100% with you. That seancey, spooky kind of
kind of
mystic
vibe.
music. Yeah, I
Yep.
really like the idea that the reed band that was emulating brass that moved into funeral dirge. It's the same band that's playing, and as they're playing, the music shifts and churns, and it gets very very low, very ominous and omnipresent. You can almost feel the hum, thrum, and vibe throughout the entirety of the place as these reeds are pulsing. Yes,
Building on that, and
please.
as like the music begins to change, the weather sort of changes too. Not
Oh
like
yeah.
the sun starts going down, it starts getting it's kind of like setting the mood. For
Haze
this sort of
sets in.
seance. Yeah, this like sort of haze sets in. Maybe they're setting like they're getting their materials all set up. There's like a salt circle in the middle of like this little muskrat village, with arcane symbols that probably don't mean anything to EJ. He's just making things up and being like, this is something that I saw once on the internet, and like, you know, because what could go wrong? You know, like, it's actually like or like IKEA furniture names or something to that effect. Because like he's been asked to do a seance and he's a nonfiction writer, so he has familiarity with it, but not in the way like not in the same way as other people might. So um so I think that that's kind of where I would go with that. Maybe,
I
but
love it.
like cranberry juice, are they writing anything in cranberry juice? That's my last thought.
Oh yeah, I feel as though the Ouija board is whatever is used is constructed of dried cranberry juice on a bit of bark. It's something that the town has had prepared because it was a part of the foretelling. It's the tools that we needed to have. Like moments after you mentioned seance, there was I think a cheer from the crowd, and they rushed to gather the materials. I have a feeling that other humans have come through previously and none of them have asked to have a seance. Uh, and that's one of the signs that really makes it clear to them that we are the ones foretold.
Yeah, I
Um,
think okay. Oh, all right, I'm thinking about like what Elliot might know about cults, since he's, you know, a nonfiction writer and he's looked at a lot of these cult cases too, about like what, and he's like, okay, cults normally have things that symbolize, like in their rituals, they have things that symbolize things. So he's like, well, we'll need, and he's like starts listing things off like a bowl of cranberries and a glass of water and like seemingly random things, but like things that he like just passingly has observed about the town, like a brick from one of the from at Muskrat Hamilton, and you know, to place in the center of the circle to kind of give the vibe, to get the vibes of the seance or whatever.
I,
To use in
I
this sort of way.
I love very much the idea that the checklists that are being checked off have been written ages before, that have just been scooped up as part of the materials for this. They don't have the materials prepared because gathering the materials is part of the seance, is part of the ritual, part of the process and procedure.
And maybe
Um,
they're all written in cranberry juice, but
yeah.
because Elliot's colorblind, it's all ink to him. Like it's all like,
Oh,
"Yeah, this is written in like totally normal generic black ink. Like I don't see any issues here." No.
it's deeply unsettling. Ooh, hey, I have a question for you. Are your eyes still on the same side as they usually are?
Like
Your heterochromia, you've got one eye that's one color, one eye that's the other.
I,
Are they still on the same sides as normal?
I think that they would have swapped when
Mm,
when we became part frog.
yeah.
So
I also was imagining that I don't think that we're frog anymore because we have crossed the bog and the limerick has been,
good.
fulfilled. But I do think that I was imagining while you were frog that the bumps and spots that you had on you were effective by the coloration of your eyes, but there's just never a time to throw that up
I
there.
think
Anyway,
I think one eye specifically, the green eye is like slightly brighter too. Like it seems almost like it's illuminated, like a brighter shade of
mm,
green. That's almost creepy or uncanny.
I love it. But I feel as though we set up quite a lot and we're ready to do a thing,
Yeah,
huh?
I think so too. Yep. So do we narrate us in, or is that enough to work
That's what
with?
you do.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yeah. So the opening narration is like birthed from the tone of the music, and you, as your travelers in the kind of the first person, discuss where are we and what's happening. And you
Okay,
end by asking the question, which keys us into, okay, now we're entering back into that collaborative state, and we
oh,
all take note of the question.
what's the question? I think that's the last thing we need for the setup then.
Uh, it's probably how can we get back home or at least to Boston?
Mm, yeah, that's a fair point. Because I was gonna also say, who do we contact? Like who? and like it was a dual set of questions because it's like, who do we contact and how do they get us home? Or how
Yeah.
can they get us home? Would be
Well,
my question.
I think that because we know that we're doing a seance, the who do we contact is something that's naturally going to come up. I think if we frame it as to how can we get back, that gives us a lens of direction for the conversation we'll have with whomever we contact,
Yeah, that's true. So then how do we get home?
or
Okay.
at least to Boston.
Or how do how do we get back out of here? Let's go with that. We also have to bring Susie with us. Sorry, Susie. Forgot about you.
That's okay.
How do we get up? How do we get up on out of here? Is this our
Yes.
question?
Yep.
Wonderful.
All right. So, narration time then? Yeah.
Yeah. Go. Do you want to go
The
for
question
it?
is, how
If
do
you
we get
don't-
out of here?
Yes.
Yeah.
The question
Yeah,
is, how do we get out of here? I could. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How do we go?
If
It's
How do
already.
we get on up out of here?
Yeah.
I believe.
So-
Point of order.
Yes. Point of order. Okay. So
do you
just
want to
a-
bring the camera in, or
Yeah, I can
should I?
bring the camera in.
Cool.
So if we're gonna do that, then establishing wide shot of the residents of Massachusetts as they gather in the growing night, as the music of the brass band that isn't really a brass band begins to shift in tone to something a little bit spookier and a little bit more, what's the word, mystical. Not quite creepy, but a little bit more into a seance-y sort of vibes, setting up the mood and the atmosphere for the seance to the point where even the sky begins to darken and change to like the pinks and purples of twilight as it fades from day to night. And there's a big salt circle has been set up with arcane looking symbols that may not necessarily mean anything at all. With like in the middle of it is like a bowl of cranberries and a brick from the Muskrat Hamilton house and a glass of water and things that and can't forget the candles. You always have to have a candle too, because something's got to blow out creepily, right? And like a set, like some candles around it as they get ready. And I think you mentioned a Ouija board as well. So like there's a Ouija board kind of set up there with the little, like that little triangle dial thing. Like as well, like everything's been very carefully prepared. And like you said, these are things that seem to have existed from before Elliot and Duncan ever got here. So yeah, why don't you take it from there?
I don't. This is my first seance, and I'm not exactly sure what I should be doing. But we just grab onto the planchette and just let it whirl. Who do we?
That's not quite how a seance works. Yes, you are supposed to put your hands on the little planchette and but you can't push it around. It pushes you.
What?
And
Yeah.
you always have to ask a question. We have to ask a question. And he looks up and like we're surrounded by the townsfolk who are obviously all excited to see this occur. And we can't forget about Susie. Susie's gotta go. I mean,
come with us. Go.
yeah,
Go.
come with us
Yeah.
too. Susie, why don't you come over here too and put your hand on this planchette?
I don't like to mess with demons.
We're not messing with demons. We're just opening a gate. Anything could come through, not just demons. We've got options.
Oh, okay. And she puts her hand down.
That's what happened to the Bambino.
And she puts both hands in.
Oh God.
Now we just let it go.
No. We gotta ask the question first, Duncan. Wait, are all the candles lit?
Yes.
Okay. I know in some of the cults that I studied, there's chanting. Can we get some chanting going with this music as well? And he like asks this to the crowd of Massachusetts teens.
I like the idea that the instruments that the band that is still playing as they get this request, it shifts to incorporate chanting in, and the crowd is still listening expectantly, but now the music, without any addition of players, is now added chanting rhythmic throughout.
The mayor looks to everyone and says, "Chant our sacred words," and everyone says, "Exclusive. Paris speaks."
Okay. EJ just goes, okay, all right. I think we're ready. All right.
The
what,
intentions are set.
right. We're supposed to ask a question here, right? So, c- I guess we're gonna close our eyes and, oh, wait, I think sometimes they confirm that we have someone to talk to, right? And we obviously, Susie doesn't want to talk to a demon, so we have to make sure that it's not a demon. So let's start with the basic questions first, and then we'll get to the big questions. Does that sound like the plan?
Who's there that's not a demon?
Yeah. They like they he like you know we're sorry, this we have a child, and unfortunately we can't talk to demons right now. So yeah. Who's out there that's not a demon?
The writing on the Ouija board starts to undulate a little bit. And almost like the ripples in the cranberry bog earlier, starts to move the planchette to the letters MOTHER.
Mother. That seems safe
Pamela?
enough. Yeah, that seems safe enough, but uh whose mother? I guess.
My mother?
What's your mom's name?
Diane.
Are you Diane? Or a different mother?
The ripples become a little quicker, and ALL.
All like the all father, but all mother. Right. Um, to be fair, we said that we said no demonic things and things that were safe for children. So an all mother seems to fit the bill, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know a mom that's a demon.
So I have a mom and a grandma and a great grandma. Is Alma like the next step up from that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. She's their mom, all of them, and your mom, and my mom,
She's
and his
everybody's
mom.
mom, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, are you your own mom?
So you want to waste a question on that?
Oh, no. Okay. I'll just ponder it.
Just yeah, maybe that's a better idea. Maybe okay. Well, now that we know she's a safe person or they're a safe person to speak to, is there anything else we want to ask, or do we just want to ask the big question?
Do we go to our home?
Back to our world?
So if we ask how to go home, she might tell us how to go to where she is, and that's probably not where we're from.
Good thinking. You're a very sharp. You're the sharpest crayon in the box, Duncan.
I have the little sharpener in the back of mine.
The deluxe box.
Um, the letters and numbers ripple again, and you get it moves to just the numbers 3, 2, 5.
Is that the only answer we're gonna get?
It repeats 3, 2, 5, and Susie says, "Oh, that's the bus I got on."
3, 2, 5?
Are there any buses around here? Mayor, do you have public transportation?
The mayor
Mayor.
takes a break from chanting exclusive Paris speaks to say we have one bicycle.
What number is that bicycle?
What?
What number is that bicycle?
It's one. We have one bicycle.
Okay.
Where did Elliot looks to Susie while Duncan is off doing this. Susie, where did the bus drop you off? Is there a bus stop or did it just
Well, it's the 325 and the 326, and the thing is, normally it's just the 326, and I get on the 326 and I take that home from where I have to go sometimes. And then I got this time it said 325, and 325 is almost 326, so I got on the 325, but I went to a different place and it brought me here, and I got off and I went into the town and I said, "Can somebody tell me how to get home?" And they said, "We have a bicycle, and the bicycle's number is 1."
Okay, hear me out. Let's rewind back to the part where you got off the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get off the bus?
In kind of a liminal space, like more of a world between worlds.
Okay, so this is a magic bus. It's not a school bus, right?
Or a magic girl.
I mean, I don't think it wasn't a school bus, it was a city bus. It was the part of the MBTA.
Does the MBTA know that they have an interdimensional bus?
Well, I doubt it.
Did we know that we have an interdimensional forest?
You know what? We're getting off topic here. We need to focus back on the part where we're trying to get out of here. So we have a bike. We just have there's only one bicycle. Its number is 1. We were given the numbers 3, 2, 5 in answer to our question by someone called the All-Mother, who we hope isn't a demon and isn't lying. I don't know. The dots are dotting, but I don't know.
What if we put 325 on the bike and try and all ride it together out of here?
It's a plan.
When you say that, Dunk, the spirit board begins to spin, and all of
Oh.
you have to hold on, and then it launches itself into the air, high, 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 and disappears above the clouds.
It's not helpful. At least I think it is. You think we made the All-Mother mad?
I hope not.
All right, well, thank you for the chanting. It can stop now. We have our answers.
Paris, Paris, Paris.
Mayor's like this. We
Paris,
no longer
Paris.
need to chant the sacred texts.
Paris.
I'm gonna actually pass up a token, and they chant even louder despite the mayor telling them to stop.
Fantastic.
They push
Paris,
louder,
Paris,
and
Paris.
the
And-
chanting is growing despite the mayor's efforts.
And somehow, from each of the band members, their music splits. It is this eerie music with like chanting And then there's like a third different voice that is coming out of all of them that just says 325, 325, 325.
Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive.
You're getting very into this, Duncan.
Oh, I think that's another voice that comes through. That wasn't
Oh.
Duncan. That was me
Okay.
yes-anding the terror.
Okay.
You look over and you can see Duncan's face focused completely, his fists clenched, and he's staring into the middle distance, repeating the numbers with the chanting, pumping his fists up and down. He doesn't
think
seem
that-
to respond or even hear you when you say his name.
I think that Elliot being because he was researching a murder and trying to find like kind of connecting the dots to the murder, kind of automatically starts trying to connect the dots within this situation that's growing more and more tense. And I think he he squints off into the distance, and he very, very like faintly, he can see the bike that they're talking about, but it's also got like a little, it looks like, you know, like the bus stop signs that are just a pole. It's just got a little sign there. And he thinks he sees something like that. And he like he's trying to, he's like, okay, what if? And he's like putting these things together in his mind. And he kind of says, Susie, are you still with me?
I'm right. You're looking at me. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna hold on to you. And he reaches out his hand.
Okay. Hi. Thank you.
All right. And when I say go, we're gonna run.
Okay. Are we worrying about the tall frog boy?
Well, that's the second thing. When I say run, I'm gonna grab him and I'm gonna try to pull him. But if he doesn't come along, I don't know that I can bring him with us.
Okay. That would be too bad. I think he's very nice.
I think he's very nice too, but I don't know what's gotten into him. Actually, wait, you know what? I have an idea. This always works in cults too. When he like grabs a fistful of salt from the salt circle and throws it at Duncan. And says like, I don't know, what do they say during the situation? The power of Cthulhu compels you. Like
Thank Thank you.
oh good.
I
Oh,
am
Ah.
going to say that
Oh yeah.
as the salt hits Duncan's back, you hear something of a sizzling.
Oh,
And where the frog legs are, there is like a shriveling
Oh.
down as Duncan's legs become smaller, frailer,
I
and
think
withery.
I think a new voice has joined the chorus of chanting being played by the instruments as well. A deep and dopey one.
this is bad. I think I might have made it worse.
Hold on. This is what I do when I need to like just get my dad to focus on something. Okay. Okay. And she like reaches up and like grabs his face and pulls it down and says, "Who's better, Ted Williams or Carl Yastrzemski?"
You.
Oh, thank you. But I'm not very good at baseball or softball. I'm not much of an athlete. I'm really more of a visual artist. But my parents don't quite know what to do with that. So that's why I take the 325. I go to the museum and I have a little a course there, and then I take it back home. But I take the 326 for that, not the 325. And that day I got on the 325, and that was the problem. So, like, who was better at baseball is the real question.
Over in the side, noticed by no one here, two members of the band in the back, the percussionist and the one with the huge sousaphone, turn to each other, and the sousaphonist goes, "Carl."
think what now that Susie has grabbed Ellie Duncan's attention, he was I need you to focus here, and we're gonna walk very calmly through this seance to that bus stop. Can you see the bus stop with the bike?
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna walk like we know what we're doing. They called us the prophesied ones. They had all this stuff prepared. So I'm sure that us walking somewhere like we know what we're doing is going to be just fine. Unless we, pissed off the All Mother, but we'll handle that as it comes. Let's go.
Okay.
And he grabs onto Susie, grabs onto Duncan, and begins to walk towards where he saw the bus stop.
The berries in my belly want me to sing the songs that I do not know.
And can you throw up those berries?
I don't know.
Wait. They like it when you ask them things. Ask them very politely to leave.
Oh, berries, will you exit my throat? I don't want to poop myself. And then I think at that moment he just vomits. They all leap out of him because if he was vague, they might have gone out the other way. A
Whatever
kitty.
works. Good cat.
Uh, as the berries exit your throat, you realize that the way that they were able to exit so alacrious is that quickly
Alacritously, yeah.
is that their thorns have grown rather longer and more barbarous.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Oh,
And so the berries exit in a shower of, somehow reformedness, but also there is a coppery taste with them. And I'll leave the rest to your imagination there.
The villagers, the huge muskrats, and the very small humans, they're continuing to chant, and their chanting becomes more desperate, louder, and wherever there is order, they find disorder. There's piles of sticks, they kick them over, they pick up unused instruments and start smashing them, and you hear a cry from across the crowd, "They reject the gift of the cranberries!" And they are chanting the numbers over and over and over and over again.
okay. Maybe we should walk a bit faster then. And I think that as he's talking, he finds an unused reed instrument and grabs that to use as a weapon. And like picks up another one and hands it to Duncan and says, "Just in case." Okay.
Big bassoon.
Yes. I've got a clarinet and a bassoon. And then Susie here, and it hands Susie a little bamboo or reed instrument.
From the left and right, as you begin to back away towards the bus stop, spiked cranberries begin to fly overhead and hurl in the air towards you.
Oh,
Oh, I think they're angry.
I think winding up like a baseball player, ironically, because you were just talking about this. Elliot whacks a bunch of berries out of the way, and he says, what gave you that idea?"
Over in the band, the two instrument musicians turn to each other in a moment that no one else hears, and the sousaphone player says, "Just like Ted."
As you whack the cranberry that was flying in the air towards you, it spatters juice and thorns across the instrument, scattering out. And as each of them hits the ground, you realize that the bog is getting closer.
Hmm.
Boy.
I think some of the juice of those cranberries that got burst landed on Dunk, and his fingers now remember the song they're supposed to play. He's not playing it yet, but his fingers, oh, they know how to play the song he's supposed to with this bassoon in his hands.
Dunk, are your hands supposed to be moving like that?
They're doing. Oh, sorry, they're doing it. So I guess so. I don't know. My legs weren't supposed to be frogs earlier, but they were.
Right. The faster we can get to the bus stop, the better, I think. And I think at this point, Elliot, like EJ is becoming a little more anxious, a little more like, oh, we're in danger. And is like, he I think he just turns around and like makes a run for it. Like he makes a run for the bus stop. And he's like, just run. Just try to get the like and he yells out to them, run. He like tries to communicate that. He isn't just gonna
Yeah.
dip out. But yeah.
As you run, Susie decides to sing the song of her people, and I'm not going to get us any copyright strikes, but she does begin singing Dropkick Murphys shipping off to Boston, which she knows every word to.
Amazing.
But it's kind of mumbly. She's like kind of just mumbling it to herself.
Mhm.
On the horizon, you can clearly see the bus stop, the sign, the lapping of the cranberry bog encroaching slowly, and the bicycle. And as you run full force, you can see that it's much further away than you thought it was because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you can realize that as you get close, it towers above you. Each part of it clearly some other kind of makeshift bicycle. The wheel from another style of another. The chain looks very haphazard. The whole thing is set against the sign, each 2 or 3 times the size of poor Dunk.
I don't know how to ride that, but I do know how to play this. He doesn't put his lips to the instrument just yet, but
I think like EJ in a moment of like of like desperation just takes the stick from you and yeets it like back in the direction of the
Whoa.
of the angry crowd, and looks at this bike and is like, I don't. There's a bus stop here, so theoretically we're supposed to wait for a bus. I don't know why, unless there's a way to ride this bike out of here.
Susie clambers over and leaps onto the one of the pedals, which shifts under her weight and slides back and forth.
Mom, we can all ride it together. We just have to work together.
Oh, okay. I'll give it a shot. Dunk, do you want to pedal or do you want to steer?
are your arms going to be able to reach both of the handlebars?
No.
Okay, then I'll steer.
Okay. And Elliot clambers up to the other pedal next to Susie and says, all right, let me know when.
Okay.
Dunk says, when?
And I think as you pedal, like it's very a whole lot of exertion. It's not a very easy thing to do, but you start to get into a rhythm of it, and as you fall into a rhythm, like a bus-like form forms around you, but it looks like an old city bus from like the 1950s or 1960s. And you become aware that there are other people pedaling similarly enormous bikes. And one of them looks over at you and is like, muskrats, right?
Right.
I'd like to pass you this one, and it's not just people coming from Muskrat, Massachusetts. It's people coming from like other areas as well, like
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah.
And
That was, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's various other various.
Emily, you're like, that was implied that there
That
were
was,
otters
yeah.
there
I see,
too.
I see, I see.
No.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. I had just assumed that it was just other people coming from other muskrat villages.
I was
But
gonna, I was gonna say they're from Musk Angeles, but you know what? I think there should be other
Angeles.
animals.
yeah, like just various other rodential mammals, and then not even just rodents, just whatever.
This
mammals.
guy's from New Pork City over here.
Manitoba.
Manitoba. Oh, that's
Oh,
very
God.
good.
But
I
I think
think
I
I
just sorry,
Go
I'm
ahead.
imagining that scene from The Wizard of Oz with where the house is flying in the air and you see like a bunch of random things and then like the witch
Nice.
and then like that's kind of like how I'm picturing this going. But like it's a bike chase or like a bike like a marathon, you know, like when you see like all the bikers and they're going up on like a race. But yeah.
And you
Without
always need
forms.
you always need 3 people to operate one of these bikes because they're
Mhm.
so large. So Susie was just waiting.
So
I think
I think the air, it does shift in tone and color, not unlike this, the whirling house of, the Wizard of Oz. So I think that the bog and the towns, they all kind of like shift and fade together, and you can see like through the rhythm these like vague suggestions of other bikes being pedaled by other threes being pushed forward, and you see flashes of things that are familiar, things that are unfamiliar, and all of you can see something out in the distance before you hear a whirling, spinning sound. And Dunk, you look up, and coming from the distance comes the spirit board, and I think it knocks you right in the head, and you go flying off the bike.
I love it. I have no contempt tokens, and
we have one, right?
Yeah, hit me.
do it.
Okay, I'm
No, yeah.
using it. I think that the board that like that we do see the board but instead of hitting you and like knocking you off the bike um it lands in your lap.
Oh, that's quite cool.
And the ink or rather the cranberry juice reads again 3, 2, 5, but there's dashes in between them. And like
Ooh.
I think as you like because your brain is in music mode and you start listening and you start hearing the rhythm 3, 2, 5, 3, 2, 5, and you realize that's how fast the bike needs to go.
Oh, I love it. And I was gonna say I was out of tokens, so I was gonna call for a fade out on getting hit in the back of the head. But I love the idea of the fade out, us realizing how fast we need to go, and it just fading out as we start pedaling at the appropriate pace to
rhythm.
make a bus form.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's our lovely cliffhanger. I think that
Yeah.
we call it there for both the game and the stream. How's everybody feel?
Great.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Amazing.
In my
Yeah.
heart of hearts, Susie got back home.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like who knows? Who knows? But chapters will go off, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe Susie does get home, and our other travelers are still stuck, and they find some other people as well. But
I'm just
yeah,
imagining a book called The Cranberry Murders by EJ.
oh yeah, incredible.
It's his first foray into fiction writing. Even though to him it's
Yes.
still nonfiction. He knows that it's all real, but
Exactly.
As we pull back into our player selves,
Yes.
I would love to go around and have somebody spotlight a moment from another player, something that like really drew them in or something that made sense to them before we can all reintroduce ourselves, and then ask Jason to send us out.
Quotes.
Dixie, you're going first.
Yay, I'm going first again. I actually wanted to spotlight Pooja, but mostly because Pooja, like, you get this look on your face, and I'm just like, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. And I was like, oh, the All Mother's gonna kill us. The All Mother's gonna kill us. Like I was ready the whole time, but I loved it. Specifically that All Mother scene. I was like, oh boy, you know.
No, the All Mother is very friendly. The All Mother is very friendly.
In that spiky cranberry kind of way.
I would like
Oh, no, go for
to
it, please.
shout out Dunk
Yes.
or Rick as Dunk, who I just found so lovely, so cultable. And
Poor Dunk.
just
Not
the way
culpable,
it was
but-
always like, oh, you know, it'd be great if we if we dove more into how while the cranberries may have left Rick will never leave the cranberries.
No,
Or, I'm sorry,
No.
Dunk. Ah, I
they
could do
got their
this.
hooks in me.
Dunk. We know.
I mean, it's a one-shot experience. I might as well lean in as hard as I can because it's gonna be so much fun.
Yes.
Shoot. I wanted to shout out Emily and her portrayal of Susie because just
Yeah.
the having a child talk at you at that pace where it's just these are the things that I want to say. I want to get them all out, and I want to get them all out now in this way, in this order, because I've thought about them before I walked up to you, and I want to make sure that I say everything in the order. Is very, very good, and I like it a lot. You did a wonderful job,
Yes.
and not just in that, but in everything you did. You did a wonderful job, and you should be recognized for it.
Thank you. In the spirit of keeping this going around, I'm gonna shout out Graham, who rolled with everything we threw at them, and also I just love that there were muskrat-sized humans. I never would have come up with that in a million years. I was like, and the name Compatriot, a muskrat-sized human named Compatriot. Yeah,
Fantastic.
I mean, Cranberry Bog was a home run immediately. Like
Yeah.
how there was no way we were going to fail with Cranberry Bog, you know. And I really wanted to pay off for you, Vixie, the murders, but there was so much going on in that initial stuff because I loved how fixated EJ was on nonfiction, and so I was just waiting for that thread, and you played it so well at being like desperate for normalcy as a writer of nonfiction. I adored it.
Yay, thank you. I love that you guys chose a cranberry bog too, especially because I was like, he's colorblind. He can't
He's so-
fucking see this shit.
That was so good. Oh yeah, you're like again 5-dimensional chess when you were describing that they look
Yes.
black, and everyone was like, "But they're cranberries." I was killer. Wow.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Like you can't see them, they're red.
So
Color you
good.
can't see.
Incredible. Yeah, so let's go back around and reintroduce ourselves and take up as much room as you want to, plug in stuff that you want to plug, by all means. We're here. We had a great time. I'm so grateful to all of you. You know what? Rick, do you want to go first this time? So Vixie has time to like really build up all the different streams that she has to mention.
Yeah, that sounds good. My name is Rick, as known by some as Rick Mythworks. I am I was recently hired full time by Mythworks. It's a great time. We have a playtest launching, Pico, Tiny Bugs in a Big World. It's all about having tiny, reasonably sized adventures and learning big, broad things. I played my first game of it last night, and using the mystery system. Duncan was very inspired by my guy yesterday, Dunf. He's just a big, friendly fella who answered the question of how does wind choose where to blow by getting whipped in the air and then submerged in a river and realizing, hey, we all get to choose where wind gets to blow. And now a true thing that would be existent in that world is that everyone can choose where the wind goes just a little bit. And that's cool.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah, I'm Rick. It's cool. You can meet me on the Mythworks Wild Words or other Discords. I want to play a game with you. It doesn't have to be one of ours. It can be something. I like telling stories with friends, and that's why I'm so happy and honored to be here. with all of these great people. It was wonderful meeting all of you, and I really enjoyed telling a story with all of you. I don't know who's going next. Graham, you're kind of the orchestrator of this section, so I'm gonna pass it back to our conductor.
Yeah, you don't want the ball?
Yeah,
who's
I'll let you decide.
Who wants the ball? Who's ready? Show me with your hands. Who's ready for the ball?
I'm always ready. I'm always
Boom,
ready.
Emily.
Yeah, so my name's Emily St. James. You can find me on the internet at Emily St. James on basically every platform. But I'm primarily on Blue Sky and Letterboxd. You can order my do I have a copy? I do.
Yes,
You can
do it.
order my
Do it.
book. You can order my
Woo.
book. You can't see it. Lost
Here it
Back to the
is.
Island. It just came out last month. You can also pre-order my novel, Woodworking, coming out in March. And you can watch the show I work on, Yellow Jackets. It's good, and everyone should check it out. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Season 1 is on Netflix now. So there you go.
Nice.
Guess I'll go next.
Holy shit.
Hi, I'm Pooja. You can find me on the internet as Forgotten Saves. If you want to hear me play more TTRPGs, you can tune in, well, tomorrow for a more spooky one-shot weekend on Happy Jacks. You can also find me on the Happy Jacks back catalog and on Queen's Court Games. We've got a couple of adventures coming up in the coming months. I had a really good time with those. Got to be a gremlin with Clara. If you would like to support me in my non-TTRPG related adventures, you can check out All American on Netflix and get your teen drama on so that I can continue having a job, because that's great.
Very important. Eating, that affinity for eating gets us every time. You know? And I guess it's my turn, huh? Back to me. My name is Vixie Bell. I am your friend. I've been your friendly neighborhood player here at the Happy Jacks table. It's been a lot of fun. I love Graham, love everybody at this table. They are all wonderful people. I'm so happy I got to tell a story with all of you. And yeah, if you're looking for me, I have a very busy month coming up. I am over at the Pocket Dragon Pub. You can find us at Pocket Dragon Pub on Twitch. Or the Pocket Dragon Pub on Twitch. Don't forget or Pocket Dragon Pub on YouTube. You can find me personally as Vixie Bell or Vixie Bell Cosplay. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok, same for the Pocket Dragon. And yeah, we are participating, the Pocket Dragon is participating in the Roll for Wishes event this month that's being conducted by Logomancy Media. We're earning money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So all of the money that we raise with our TTRPGs is going to go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Tomorrow I will be playing Killer Ratings with our DM, all the ampersands. Super excited for that. And then I will be running several games myself on the Pocket Dragon Pub, and you can check out everything that I'm doing on social media because the list is very long and I don't want to take up 5 minutes telling you everything I'm going to play. Also, if you'd like to continue to support me outside of the TTRPG space, I am an artist. I have an art stream on Twitch. You can find me there at Vixie Bell Cosplay. A lot of my art is on my personal Instagram, and I am doing little chibi commissions right now on Ko-fi, so be sure to find me there. Again, Vixie Bell Cosplay on Ko-fi. So yeah,
They're very cool and they're very beautiful.
Amazing. Thank you everybody so much. Thank you everybody from Happy Jacks. Thank you, Jason, for all of your support for it. My name is Graham Gens. I wrote Under the Autumn Strangely. I am a game designer and facilitator and occasionally a puppet. I'm excited because Under the Autumn Strangely just got a second print run, which is why I'm here talking about it. It's spooky season. I'm very, very happy about it. I have an itch, which is my name, grahamgens.itch.io. You can get IPR, Under the Autumn Strangely at IPR at Indie Press Revolution, as well as the PDF at my itch as well. I'm going to be at cons all year long. Luckily and very happily with Rick at Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin, and PAX U at the end. So please go play good games, and thank you for all of the stuff. Check these things out and have the spookiest time ever. Are you ready, Jason? Let's go to 3, 2, 1. Ghosty. Thank you.